The Marketplace now is an art-based research project that began back in 2019, and it asked persons with disabilities to create artworks that represent their experiences in commercial settings. From all across the UK, from Wales, Southern and Northern England, we have approximately 36 artworks that represent sensory, so in particular visual impairment, neurodiversity, in particular autism, and mobility, in particular wheelchair users as forms of disability. It represents persons with disabilities' experiences in retail, tourism, hospitality and care services.
I think it's really good about how different disabilities are represented as well, especially invisible disabilities. As someone with an invisible disability, I like, it's really great that we, have all this, the disabled is always someone in a wheelchair, but it's that awareness that there's other types of disability, and especially it's all about the marketplace. Different people experience it in very different ways. Like just having a ramp isn't going to help people with autism and etc. You need more than just one thing, and I think the exhibition really shows that.
What does the exhibition say about society or learning in general?
I think it shows that when we use the term disability, I don't think it's like we need to recognise it's a broad term. Someone isn't just disabled in their one thing. Like everyone has such unique experiences, and I think society needs to realise that a lot more. If we look at this side of the room compared to this side of the room, it's so different, but they're all disabled. And it is a catch-all term, but maybe we should be aware that there's so much difference within that. And even if we're just looking at one kind of, it's looking at the marketplace, there's so many different experiences within that.
What I think the exhibition says about society is that hopefully we're going in the right direction, that we're getting better, that disabilities are being less stigmatized, and that we're acknowledging that they're there and learning more about them and how they present themselves very differently in different people. So I think it's something there of making it less sort of demystifying it, I think, a bit of living with disability, and it's all around us. I think it's a great exhibit to hear the stories of people living with disabilities and trying to live their day to day. So how the marketplace is helpful or not, and society can do small changes that they think make a big difference, but maybe it's not quite enough. So we always have to push these boundaries.
A lot more needs to be done to include people with disabilities. Like, I work under the assumption of the social model of disability. It's not we are disabled, society disables us. Society seems to be created for neurotypical people, for people without disabilities, and it's like people with disabilities somehow need to fit in, and it should be the other way around. It should be society needs to fit in around our worldview, our point of view, because otherwise we're not going to be able to access it.
How we could make the market and society more accessible for disabled communities. I think education and seeing it present in even popular cultural media and popular culture, if we see diversity, and we are seeing diversity in a lot of different ways. We're seeing racial diversity and sexual orientation diversity, even in things in adverts or our, programs, cartoons. And the recent cartoon, since I have children, and the Buzz Lightyear cartoon, they have a lesbian couple, in Disney, and this is a big step for a large corporation like Disney. And I think if we have more of this diversity present everywhere, it will just become a new normal of this is how families might look, how people might think, feel, behave, and yeah, I think having it more, there's still a long way to go.
I feel this exhibition is saying that society think that installing a push button is enough, and it's not enough, because installing a push button opens a door, but it doesn't actually physically help that person get through that door. And there are other things that we can do as society as a whole to really make sure that things are more comfortable and accessible for everybody. And a button isn't enough, or a ramp isn't enough. And actually learning about the artist in Amsterdam who's creating things out of Lego to make things accessible for other wheelchair users is absolutely mind-blowing. Why isn't that just a standard? And I guess it's making me question why these things aren't just standard.
I think to make access better, companies and businesses need to talk to the people with disabilities and not just make assumptions. They need to hear it from the people that it's affecting.
What could make easy more accessible venues, more employing people. Don't look at the disability, look inside, where all human beings do not label us, because we're better than that.
What would make consumption or access to the marketplace easier and more accessible from your experiences?
I think it would be businesses just willing to take a chance. I think it's really, really easy for businesses and marketplaces to stay the way they always have done. But I think it's, if they're willing to take a chance, install a sign for a month, see what difference that will make, speak to your customers, actually get to know things. It's like, like menus in restaurants, right? If 10 years ago, if you would have said everyone will have vegan options, gluten-free options, they'd be like, no. People took those chances and now it's just seen as normal. Why is that not happening with, access to buildings, awareness of what's in a room, people being able to see exit points when it comes to anxiety and autism and stuff like that, people just being able, having the courage, although it shouldn't be something courageous, but just wanting to take that step and make that change. And then hopefully we can make a place that's a lot more accessible for everyone.
Since the Fringe in August 2022, things have moved on really well and the project's evolved remarkably. In particular, we had fantastic public engagement with different visitors that came along to the Fringe. Since then, we wanted to really utilise this project to engage with wider stakeholders, in particular with businesses, and to get business engagement. So since October 2022, we've been working with a series of different companies from across the northwest of England and throughout Scotland to really just help them to understand accessibility, to demystify accessibility, because many of them, that is their concern. They're frightened of doing the wrong thing whilst trying to do the right thing. And so it's about demystifying accessibility through the workshops and utilising the Marketplace Night artworks and project to do so. So the way that we demystify accessibility through our workshops for companies and organisations that we've been working with is really simple. It's the Marketplace Night artworks speak for themselves. We deliberated on whether or not to bring the artworks actually tangibly, but what we found in the feedback from companies is that's the USB. They love the fact that they can touch, feel and almost immerse themselves in a miniature exhibition through the training that we offer. Disoriented and the sister motion. So yeah.
Once I've secured my contract with Sky, if you want to leave, then I'll
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah.
and student site.
Well, this is like we paid
Yeah,
for so
yeah.
much, and they offered us like 40 pounds for broadband and like all these packages, and I was like, I think that sounds good.
So
But also, I'll just never leave the house.
I don't like it. So yeah, I don't like it. So I think he's probably got yourselves naturally into groups, which is great. So if you want to talk in your teams, and just we've got if you go to sort of towards the end, there's like some pages that say short term, medium term, and long term goals, and those are maybe just useful pages for you to maybe think through different things that you maybe learned from today that you think could be utilised here in Age Scotland or in Illuminate.
What's happening with the videography?
Chris, do you want to answer this?
I don't know.
I feel like that should actually go in the video next week. What's happening with the videography? So, I'm going to level with you with the videography. When we applied for the funding for the videography, I genuinely thought that the end of this project was the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I thought at that point we would have immersed ourselves and exhausted the public engagement, and that would be it. But then what's happened is we've now got this opportunity to engage with businesses, and through that we've recognised that actually the marketplace night didn't end at the Fringe. It's just that was really in some ways the beginning. So it was a really naive sort of outlook that I had back in August last year, where I thought, oh yeah, we're nearly done with this project. No, it's just really that was the beginning. It's ramping up. So what we're now doing is capturing through events like the one that we were at today with Age Scotland, the actual training, the workshops that we're doing with companies and with organisations, so that then it builds up that videography and it tells this wider, impactful and engagement project to its fullest and to its most holistic sense of self.
Spot on.
Chris, was that spot on? Good, thanks.
Alright, let's try like a shorty. I think that's good, but it's just a bit too long. But like,
Yeah, I was all because you didn't put that on the list. I didn't prep that before.
it's fine.
Okay, do I look like I've been crying?